Hey guys, this is Doug with Cold War Collectors, and today I'm going to be talking about a very rare and very unique item I have in my collection. This is a Type 1 Spetsodezhda jacket. Spetsodezhda was a modification of digital KMK that was issued to the border guards. It had three variants. Type 1, which is this variant. It also has Type 2 pockets on it, but I'll get to that later. Type 2 and Type 3. Type 3 is rarer than Type 1. I've only seen one of the Type 3. Type 1 and 2 was a jacket and pants. Type 3 was a jumpsuit, which is, I've only seen one picture of it ever in use. However, I've also seen, from the same time the Type 1 was issued, somewhat of a rain jacket that would go over your uniform. However, this was long sleeves, and it got cut down to short sleeve, and I'll explain that a little bit later. Now, basically what happened, this uniform was issued from the mid-70s up until right before Afghanistan. In the beginning of Afghanistan, these were issued to the border guards as well as some members of special forces. I don't believe GRU had it. I know Cascade had them. Alpha had these. Vimple, a few other units. I know the DSHB did not have this pattern, but they had the Type 2 because that's when they were incorporated in, because the DSHB was a VDV unit, which is pairs that was incorporated into the border guards, and they basically functioned similar to the U.S. Air Cavalry. That's basically how I'll describe it. Now, this is a 1980 pattern, so this is towards the end of the Type 1 service life and towards the beginning of the Type 2 service life. Now, it doesn't have the stamp attack because it's been very, very used, but the way how I can tell, the buttons, with the exception of this button, all have 1980 on it. This one I believe is 79 or 72, something like that. Now, the thing that's interesting, Type 1s have this type of pocket on the upper one. However, this is not a Type 1 pocket. This is a sleeve pocket from a Type 2. It's held in by Velcro, and you can even see the outline of, like, basically what happens. This, like, the pocket inside of here always is lighter than the exterior because this is exposed to light. This wasn't exposed to light that long, and plus it's not actually exposed to light. This is actually, they cut out the pocket and replaced it with Type 2 fabric, which has a slightly different pattern. This is where the sleeve pocket was, which this was. This has all been cut out and replaced with Type 2 fabric. Now, another thing that's interesting, the Type 2 has what they call the buttonhole, like armpit sweat drains. These have holes, which is a Type 1 feature. The Type 2 did not have these. The Type 2 had what the M88 Afghanka had. This pocket's also intact. The other thing that's interesting about it, this was basically, this button up here was removed, so basically a Tanyashka could be showing, and this is a 1969 pattern button. Now, I have not opened the pockets because they're very fragile and the buttons might fall off. Now, the other thing that's interesting about this is all very used and abused. And this has been cut down to sleeves. Now, I believe they said border guards would not be able to get away with this. So, the only guys who were allowed to do this were Alpha, Cascade, and Vimple. And I've even seen a picture. I really hate myself because I had it on my downstairs computer, and the computer got fried, so I couldn't recover the picture. And it actually had the names of the people who were wearing each one of these uniforms, and every single one of them had it so that they had short sleeves, and like 2 or 3 of the guys had it so they had a sleeve pocket on the jacket. And I believe there might be something inside of this pocket, but I'm very afraid to get it out. It seemed like it could be some type of like collar tab, but that's basically it. I don't necessarily want to open the pocket because I'm afraid it's going to get demolished. There's a lot of tears on it, and as well as staining. So this was field used. I don't want to open the buttons because the buttons are barely held on at all. Also, another thing that's interesting, what happens when the border guards would be issued this, they'd be issued shoulder boards like the M69 uniforms. One would have it here, but this is a replacement from this is Type 2 fabric, and this is a Type 2 fabric that's also darker in colorization. I apologize for the long time this is going to take, but I have to be very slow and careful with this uniform because it's falling apart. I got this falling apart, so. Okay. This thing honestly really scares me every time I touch it because I'm afraid that I'm going to ruin it. Now, I'm tilting this at an angle. This is not what the uniform originally had. This is field modified. So it has ventilation. This one's been torn there, that one's been torn there. But this actually was overlapping. The guy cut it so he could have more ventilation for the back. And he stitched it so it could kind of have a more breathable back. Now the collar is all really messed up. So I'm not touching the collar at all. These uniforms, type 1s are very rare. I got this for $50 because the guy did not know what this was. And I'm very lucky because another person was actually bidding on it on eBay. Because these things, type 1 is very rare to find. This one's actually been field used and modified. And I think I believe they said the only people who did this were the SFs, the Special Forces. I just call them SF for abbreviation of Special Forces. The SHB were not allowed to do this, keep this in mind. Yes, in some Afghanistan, some uniforms were issued, but these were only issued to the PVKGB, which were the border guards, and Cascade, Alpha, and Vimple, and a few other special forces. It still has the original coat hanger there, which is nice, but you can even see that there was a collar liner in there that was removed, but it still has original stitching from multiple collar liners. As I said before, the sleeves have been cut down and they've been stitched. This sleeve actually has better stitching than the other one. The other one seemed like it was stitched in a hurry. So, this thing's very rare. I had a picture of people who had a bunch of these type of uniforms in Afghanistan, very early in Afghanistan. Not 79, but 80 or 81. But these things are extremely rare to come by. This is the only one from that picture I've actually seen. I think those ones are still in the original owner's collection. So, I know this one came from Ukrainian SSR. So, it could have been a veteran from the Ukrainian SSR, or someone from Ukraine could have bought it from a veteran elsewhere. But, mostly, all of these uniforms, all the Spetsodezhda uniforms were made in Ukraine. They were made at the quote-unquote Flying Elephant Factory. I forgot the exact name of it. I'll probably link it in the description. But, all the Spetsodezhda uniforms were made in the Flying Elephant Factory. Some were made in the Belarusian SSR, but that was Type 2 uniforms. This one's stamp is completely gone because it's been all worn off. But as I stated before, the buttons actually can tell you when the uniform was made if all the buttons match. This one has a replacement button, but that's a completely different story though. Which is kind of interesting because why would you want a gold button on a uniform and not try to paint it over? I believe that's probably all. This is probably one of the rarest things I have in my entire collection. I'll just try to open the pocket slowly, and if I'm afraid it's going to get ruined, I'm not going to open it the entire way. Holy shit. Oh, wow. This is actually the first time I'm opening it. I'm not joking, you guys. This is the legit first time I've actually opened this. Holy shit. This is the actual other button. Collar tabs. So basically, if this was issued PVKGB, this is where the collar tabs would be. Although this is upside down though, but it's amazing. But this button's dated 1970 though, which is interesting. You may not be able to see it that well. Has a maker's mark. The maker's mark actually looks like the PFLP symbol, but it's not because PFLP did not make uniform. But I'm literally not joking, you guys. This is the first time I've actually seen if there's anything in there. I haven't actually opened that pocket before. Which is interesting because this green is actually what the PVKGB would do. But I know they weren't allowed to do this, but I think this is actually an MVD symbol. Which is strange. Just seeing if there's anything else I can see if there's anything. Nah, I believe that's all. So, you guys have actually seen the first time I've actually found out anything about this uniform other than the picture. So, That's probably it.